Once I reach first base, my responsibility is to pick up my third base coach and watch him go through the signs. I do not start to get my lead until I am clapped off by my third base coach. That tells me he's done giving me the signs. Another responsibility I have is to listen to my first base coach. He's going to help remind me of the outs and the situation that's taking place before me, possibly how many other base runners I have and what my situation is. However, it is ultimately my responsibility to know what's going on. I can't always count on a first base coach to keep me educated. I have to be in the game and know what's happening around me at all times. A couple other responsibilities I have before I get my primary lead is to check the outfielders. I want to see where they're playing so I can have a better reaction if the ball is hitting the gap or down the lines in the outfield. My next responsibility is to pick up the pitcher, whether he's right-handed or left-handed. Now, as I start my primary lead, I have a goal, and that is to use the same footwork every time so I know exactly how far off the base I am without having to look back at the base. Anytime a base runner has to peek back at the base to see how far off he is, he's game for being picked off. We also have to pay very close attention to our footwork. We want to make sure that we never get into a situation where our feet are very close together or that we cross our feet. Those two scenarios are going to allow me to be vulnerable to being picked off, for they are not a balanced, stable position that I can recover back to the base very easily from. We always start with both heels on the base. A footwork scenario that I like to use from first base is right, left, square up, shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Throughout the course of that sequence, I have my eyes on the pitcher, primarily his back heel, so that if he spins that back heel, I know he's making a move and I can get back. Once I take my initial right, left, square up, if the pitcher decides to make a move to first here, there's something that we can do to help create some distraction for the first base. Now, I'm not insinuating being dirty, but if they want to make a move right here, we're not going to dive back into the base. We're going to go back into the front corner of the base standing up. And if the pitcher makes a bad move and a bad throw to first base, there's a chance that that first baseman's not going to be able to fight through me, and he's going to throw that ball down the right field line. Once the pitcher toes into the rubber with his back foot, I start my sequence. Right, left, square up. From here, I have a choice. From an advanced standpoint, I can be given the appearance by lowering the bill of my cap. The pitcher thinks I'm looking at him, but in essence, I'm peeking out of the corner of my eye, trying to pick up the signs that the catcher's giving the pitcher. This is an advantage that I can gain for if I'm a base runner and I recognize the catcher giving off-speed pitches, I have a better chance of being successful in stealing a base. However, due to the fact that I'm taking my eyes off the pitcher very quickly and glancing in at the signs, I have to keep that pitcher in my peripheral vision, and any kind of movement that I see, I have to be quick to get back to the base. Your average base runner is not going to bother with this. All they're going to do is they're going to get into a right-left squared up position, and then from here they're going to initiate with their right foot to shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Notice, I am in a position right now where I am a step and a dive from the base. I don't want to get out so far that I'm uncomfortable. If I am uncomfortable and I'm worried about being picked off, I'm not going to be effective as a base runner. I want to make sure on my primary lead that I do not rest my hands inside my knees or on my knees. I want to stay relaxed, and I want to have my right foot slightly back from my left. This is going to allow me to clear my hips if I'm stealing second, but it's also not going to inhibit me from being able to dive to the back corner of the base. If a pitcher makes a move as I'm reading his back foot, if that back heel lifts, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get to the back of the base as quickly as possible with one step and a dive. And I'm going to come in to the back of the base very quickly, and I want to keep my hand on until I can put my left foot on the base. Then I can dust off and be ready to pick up the signs from my third base coach. A little key that'll help me have less moves made over to the base is making sure that I stay to the front of the base as I get my lead. This creates an illusion to the pitcher. When I'm closer to the front of the base, it looks like my lead is not as big as when I'm on the back of the base. This seems to create an illusion to the pitcher of a bigger lead, and I'm going to have more moves made to first. So we want to stay to the front side as we get our lead. Now, I am concentrating on the back heel of the pitcher as I have been the whole time. I want to start working on what's called my secondary lead. Once I get my primary lead, I have to wait until the pitcher delivers the pitch. Once he lifts his front foot off the ground, he's committed, if he's right-handed, to the plate. So I'm going to go ahead and work on my secondary lead. That's going to be 2 shuffles towards second base where I'm gaining ground, never crossing my feet. This way, if the ball is hit, I'm that much closer to second base. If I hear the pop of the glove of the ball entering the catcher's mitt, I have to take 3 or 4 hard steps back to first to avoid a pickoff throw from the catcher to the first baseman. So a secondary lead would look like this. Shuffle, shuffle. If the ball's hit, I'm gone. If it's caught by the catcher, I get 4 hard steps, pick up the base, and now I'm picking up the signs again to see if my coach wants to put on another play. The most heads-up play that any base runner can make at first base is his ability to read balls in the dirt that are thrown from the pitcher to the catcher. If we are aggressive and we have good instincts, we're going to get a good secondary lead. And as we read the ball in the dirt, we should immediately take off for second base. For there's not any realistic way for a catcher who's aiming to block the ball to knock it down, run out, recover, pick the ball up, and throw me out at second if I have a good reaction at first base. The way this is done, of course, we work our lead. As always, right, left, square up. From here, shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. So from this position here, once I get my secondary lead and I'm gaining ground, shuffle, shuffle, I read the ball in the dirt and I'm gone to second base and I'm sliding in hard. There's no realistic way that I'm going to get thrown out. In order to create this accurate instinct or correct instinct in your player, you should create that scenario in practice. Put a coach on the mound, have somebody be your catcher, one of your catchers or another coach, have a bucket of balls with the coach on the mound. Line your players up, have 3 or 4 or 5 throwdown bases, one after the next, right here. Have the player that's up working on their primary lead, and when the pitcher lifts his front foot, if he's right-handed, we're going to work on our secondary. Sometimes the coach throws the ball that the catcher receives in the air. That's when we bust back to first. The next repetition, he might throw a ball in the dirt, and you want all your players to react correctly and take the next base. You win games by getting into scoring position. What better way than to take a free gift of a ball thrown in the dirt to the catcher? When I get the sign to steal, or I'm on my own to steal because I'm an exceptional base runner, there's a couple things that I got to keep in mind. Of course, I can't do anything different to tip off that I'm stealing this base. Coaches, opposing coaches, and players, especially the pitcher, they're going to be looking for mannerisms that I use that are different when I'm stealing a base as opposed to when I'm just getting my normal primary and secondary lead. So I have to be consistent. Right, left, square up, shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. I'm in a position and I'm ready to go. We've already talked about our right foot being slightly back from our left. And we're going to drive through with our back arm as we cross over, and now I'm headed to second. When I get 5 steps in, I have to take my head and drive hard to the plate to pick up and see what's happening. I do not slow down during this process. If I see the swing and a miss, I know there's probably a throw coming in. If I see contact made up in the air, I got to quickly put on the brakes and read. If that ball is going to be caught, then obviously I got to get back to first so I'm not doubled up. Now, I don't want to take a false step as my first step and attempt to steal second base. A false step would be taking my first step with my right foot, and I gain about 12 inches max with that step. When I'm stealing second base, my first step should be a crossover step low, and I can gain another 2.5 feet of distance. How many base runners are safer out by the distance of 2.5 feet? A bunch. So my first step is crucial. Good base runners pick up on patterns of the pitcher. Pitchers are creatures of habit. They tend to do the same thing over and over again. They may come set, one look first, go to the plate. Come set, one look to first, go to the plate. Come set, one look, go to the plate. If I see that pattern developing, as soon as that pitcher goes to take his head back to find the plate, I'm gone. That's what it means to get a good jump. So find little things that can help you read what the pitcher is going to do, and any advantage that we can gain can help us be that exceptional base runner that helps our team by getting into scoring position. I encourage you to get into the book and pay attention to the different moves that pitchers use to try to pick us off. I also want you to pay attention in the book to all the things that we need to do to read different pitchers. There are certain cues that we use when we're reading a right-handed pitcher. There's other cues that we use when we're reading a left-handed pitcher. So get in there, get deep into the information, and start to apply that information to your practices, especially when you're working on straight stealing. The second type of steal that we can use is what we call a delay steal. This is a steal that's used to catch the defense off guard. If the catcher is lazy throwing the ball back to the pitcher, or the middle infielders are not doing a good job pinching the middle after the pitch to the plate, that leaves the delay steal available to be used. The keys with the delay is surprise, the element of surprise. So once I get into my primary lead, when the ball is delivered to the plate, I'm going to take 3 shuffles as opposed to 2. And they're not going to be any faster or any different than I normally take my shuffles, my 2 shuffles. So I'm going to shuffle 1, 2, and about this time the ball has gotten to the plate. And I take 1 more. So I've gained about 25 feet out of my 90 feet at second base. And from here, all I do is take off for second. Because the middle infielders aren't paying attention, or the catcher's not doing his job, I can take off and be successful at stealing this base. The delay steal is a great steal to use with base runners that are maybe not as quick or that don't have good base running skills, and we can implement the delay and be successful. When I'm stealing second base, whether it's a delay steal or straight steal, I need to make sure that I slide hard, straight, and clean into the base. I never want to be an easy out, and I never want to fall victim to a decoy of a middle infielder who's convincing me with his body language that there's no play at the base, when in actuality the ball is on its way from the catcher, and now I look like a fool because I go standing up into the base. Because I have checked my outfielders when I first got to the base, on a ball that's hit to the outfield, there's a couple keys that I got to keep in mind as I consider going first to third on a base hit. First of all, if the ball is hit to the left fielder, as I'm going to second base and I recognize this is a clean base hit, the ball's right in front of me. So it should be very obvious to me whether I can get to third or not. The more the ball is carrying the left fielder towards the center fielder, the better chance I have of being safe at third. So I have to learn to read the ball that's in front of me. Now, balls to the center fielder and right fielder, I can't spend too much time focusing on that because I'm going to lose sight of second base and I'm going to take a poor turn. Therefore, my third base coach becomes crucial in the process. And when I get about 3/4 of the way to second base, I need to turn and pick up my third base coach. If he's waving me on, I'm going to hit the inside corner of second base with whatever foot that I get there with a hard push to make sure I'm in a straight line going to third base. If he puts on the brakes, I need to make sure that I stop quickly and get back to second. I do not want to round second base. If I round second base and I'm lazy getting back, the cutoffs from right field and center field usually come in right around second base, and I'm vulnerable for them throwing in behind and having an easy out because I was lazy getting back to second base. Whenever there's a double play situation occurring at second base, and as a base runner I'm heading into second base, it's my responsibility to put as much pressure on those middle infielders as possible. If I go in hard and clean, I might cause them to lose their focus for just a second and possibly bobble the ball. If they make a bad transition in their attempt to make a feed, I'm going to be safe. So I never want to concede second base. The important thing is that I slide and I do not interfere with the middle infielder as he's turning a double play. I need to make sure I go straight in and that I don't overshoot the base. And I cannot reach to the sides or up in an attempt to distract him. Otherwise, it's going to be an automatic double play.